Morning, Monday. This is just a paragraph from the New York Times. It's about robotization of factories. We will have all seen some sort of an article like this recently, but this is kind of showing that the robots are getting cleverer and cleverer. This is the future, a new wave of robots, far more adept than those now commonly used by automakers and other heavy manufacturers, are replacing workers around the world in both manufacturing and distribution. Factories, like the one here in the Netherlands, it's a Philips factory, are a striking counterpoint to those used by Apple and other consumer electronics giants, which employ hundreds of thousands of low-skilled workers. Basically, Philips have got a factory as well in China, and one in Holland that they've built with these new robots that can do really clever small manipulations, and the Dutch factory employs this many people as opposed to this many people in China. You can imagine how it's going. I've put this in first because who is going to own the robots is the question. Open question. Right, I'm going to now stress what I started, was it yesterday, with inheritance tax, estate taxes. And I think open it up to psychology. Right, this poll is a Gallup poll, and it was 2010, before the midterm elections in the United States, the last midterms, 2010. You can read them all if you pause it, but number 3 in the very important column, they've ranked everything by how well you do in the very important percentage. Number 3 was extending unemployment benefits for the long-term unemployed, was number 3 in the rankings in the very important. Number 2 was extending some of the federal income tax cuts passed by George W. Bush that are set to expire. So extending the Bush tax cuts was number 2. Number 1 is very important at the 2010 midterms, was passing legislation that would keep the estate tax from increasing significantly next year. Was more important than extending the Bush tax cuts and extending the unemployment benefits for the long-term employed. Very important, 56, somewhat important, 26, add them together, you get 82%. Obviously statistical, latitude, but that's a huge percentage. There's something going on. I'll do one more. This is from a large PDF. It's got all sorts of information in it. I almost got caught in it for a few days. Some taxes are paid to the federal government in Washington and some taxes to state and local governments, using a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 means very fair and 5 means not fair at all. Please indicate what you think of these federal taxes in terms of fairness. Now, this PDF at this stage is stressing estate taxes, inheritance tax. And in the top one in the Harris Tax Foundation 2009 poll, estate taxes, very fair, only 4, then 5, 26, 27 and 38, more than all the others, including cigarettes and beer, corporation tax, social security, payroll taxes, gas taxes and federal income taxes. The one that was judged to be the most unfair was the estate taxes at 38. And in another Harris poll was 2007, so same sort of thing, and it was slightly more extensuated 2 years earlier, where 42% think it's not that it was not fair at all. The people of the United States are very, very much, I'm saying very, very much, because we're talking cigarette, beer and wine taxes, corporation taxes, social security, payroll taxes, gas taxes, federal income taxes, of all those, I'm saying, the one that they think is unfair is the estate tax, the inheritance tax. Now, I think from what I've been looking at these polls, some sort of psychological explanation has to be found. I'm going to go for some sort of pseudo-religious sort of thing, and I would say that I'm still going to go with mainly what men and whiteness, but there's too much of it just to be male and white. That in some way this is some sort of passing on. This is a not dying sort of thing. That's what I mean by religion. In some way, people see. I'm going to posit that they are thinking that they won't die if they can pass on what they have accomplished, what they have gained in their lifetime, if they can pass it on. There must be some. I'm just going to throw that in as my idea and leave it for you to come up with your ideas. But it's such a strong feeling. There must be something quite deep and visceral behind it. This is not just an airy-fairy sort of, just an idea off the top of their heads. This is something that they really feel deeply about. Why? Because it's going to get worse. The rich are going to get richer. There is no doubt about this. With the robotisation, as fewer and fewer people are working, and capital starts to become, we get back to a new industrial age, where buying the appropriate machinery is the way of the future, and it's only a certain few people that have the appropriate capital to buy the new physical capital, and they will become the new oligarchs around the world. We've got them in Russia, and the way things are going, unless somebody can really throw a gear really hard across and change direction, we are going to get the absolutely hyper rich oligarchs in most all of the Western nations as well. As in, trillionaires, absolutely peak rich people. And the people, the normal people at the bottom, the serfs, the slaves by then, my bet still would be betting against those oligarchs. They would still let them pass their inheritance on. There's a certain fascination with the rich people, and that might be part of it. I don't know what it is. But I don't think the way to be taking the wealth off the hyper-wealthy is via estate taxes, because the bulk of the people will not be for it. There must be another way found if that is the desirable thing to do. Or some sort of campaign of re-education for the masses would have to be implemented. But for the moment, they are totally resistant to anything that's been put out there. Leave it with you. Bye.